All right, we have quite a few people here today, so I think now is a great time to get started. Thank you all for taking time with us today to join. Today's webinar is going to be about disaster recovery and how you can keep your systems up and running. The recent CrowdStrike outages offer significant insights for people understanding what went wrong, as well as what can go right with Zerto. Zerto allows you to have minimal disruptions, saving hundreds of millions of dollars if something would have happened. It also allows you to test updates before deploying. So that's something that in a case of a CrowdStrike would have helped prevent that. It also is the industry's fastest speed and time to recovery. And finally, it allows you to scale across multiple platforms, whether on premise or in the cloud. But I'm going to let the experts speak to most of it today. So, with that, I'm going to introduce our two experts. Justin Youngblood is the field CTO for Comport. He designs strategies for our clients to monitor, prevent, and respond to security incidents. He takes the time to understand what their risk tolerance is and helps develop strategies that are aligned with that risk profile. With over 2 decades of experience, he excels at aiding our customers to achieve both secure environments and the best TCO for their security. Nirmeet Gohil comes to us from Zerto today. He has extensive IT and high-tech industry experience and has worked with organizations like Tyco, Honeywell, GE, and AWS to develop integrated technology solutions for their businesses. His background in both technical field sales, supply chain management, and leadership has given him valuable insights and helps him implement effective strategies for clients, both in security and disaster recovery. So with that, I'm going to introduce Justin right now, and Justin's going to go through the agenda for the day. Justin, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. So as Lori mentioned, I'm Justin Youngblood, Field CTO at Comport. A quick few things I want to add after Lori's great introduction. So Comport's been around for over 40 years. We started our industry in the storage space of IT, so Zerto plugs right into our roots of our 40-plus year history. And I kind of specialize in networking and security aspects of it, and backup technologies and products like Zerto have become security components of our landscape, reducing that risk, providing that RTO, RPO to bring systems back online. We see more recovery events due to ransomware than we do from traditional, data centers going down and things like that in today's world. So the security has morphed quite a bit. I'm excited to hear more about Zerto today. There's a couple cool things if you look at Zerto's history. It started out as a data streaming platform to move, VMs from one data center to another per se. And then with the acquisition of HPE in 2021, really helped build Zerto's profile even better, being owned by a company that has compute and storage and their own cloud and cloud strategies has really helped make Zerto who they are today. And the customers that were using them prior have gotten to take advantage of those capabilities, and new customers are looking for those. So we'll talk about how a CrowdStrike event would happen, or how a ransomware event would happen, how Zerto would fulfill the recovery aspects of that, recovering 300 VMs, 3,000 VMs in a matter of minutes versus having to, brute force go into each machine and do all the things that our customers had to do. But also talking about business continuity as well. So that's really what it boils down to, is how can the business stay online? And if there is an incident that requires an event to do recovery, how quickly can we do that recovery? How quickly can we do it? Do we have all those components in place today? So with that, I'll kind of hand things over to Nirmeet. If you can't unmute and ask questions, please feel free to go in the chat and ask questions as you go through too. The more interactive it is, the better use it is for your time. And if you're watching this as a pre-recorded session in the future of time and you don't watch the entire event, please fast forward to the end at least, and we'll talk a little bit about how we can do some assessments to understand your storage needs, your unstructured data, structured data, how HPE and Comport can help fast track some of your business continuity challenges. So with that, I'll hand it over to Nirmeet.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Lori. Appreciate the great intro. I don't think I needed to be here. You guys already positioned everything that Zerto goes to market with. But really, just wanted to appreciate Comport again. We've been a great partnership. We're looking forward to not only exploring on this webinar how we support and help our partners meet their customers' needs for business continuity and disaster recovery, but really show what we're seeing in the industry and in the market today, right? As Justin mentioned, with us being acquired by HPE back in 2021, what it has exposed us to in the last 3 years is really higher end enterprise customers and what they're doing from a overall strategy in their business and how they're leveraging and using their data as the lifeblood of what they're doing from a technology standpoint to make their businesses more efficient. I always say that there's only 3 business outcomes that a customer really cares about, right? And that is help me make money, help me save money, or help mitigate me from risk. Those are the only 3 outcomes that I think most all customers are focused on. And how do we help you with our partnerships like Comport to do that? So first, let's talk about some of the disruptors that we're seeing, and maybe Justin can chime in here as well too. Obviously, back in the early 2010s and that time frame, we saw cloud come in and public cloud come in, and that was a disruptor at the time because the technology supply chain changed, right? It was more about how you're consuming technology and the supply chain of that technology versus actual shifts in the way technology is being leveraged and used. So with that being said, what we're seeing today, obviously AI with things like ChatGPT and large machine LML models and predictive learning and analytics that have now taken root in most businesses, that's really changed the landscape of how customers are leveraging technology. With that, because you have sources of data that come from unknown environments, because you have so many endpoint networked and connected devices, because of all those things, the cyber threats that and ways that bad actors get into your environment and can hold your data and your business hostage has increased exponentially. And then we had this little thing happen over the last 8 to 9 months with Broadcom and VMware, where VMware really changed their licensing model under the Broadcom umbrella and went to market in a subscription-only model that has changed how customers are consuming their software, especially for virtualized environments. And whether it's from a cost standpoint or from a vendor lock-in standpoint, there are things that have led to risk in your business because of that. And then, as we've seen, obviously, a few months ago with the CrowdStrike outage, not only CrowdStrike, but other software vendors are pursuing really, really aggressive software life cycles, right? The need to innovate for software companies has exponentially increased with the need for things like AI. And so those life cycles are being shortened. And so the upgrades and the requirement for patches and the requirement for security patches and all those things continue to be an ongoing, frankly, an ongoing challenge for the customer community. And so, Justin, would you say that when you're talking to your customers, you're seeing these types of disruptions really be a center focus of what customers are asking you to solve for?
For sure. We have a lot of customers trying to figure out how to leverage AI and all the different components. Some customers building fairly significantly sized AI build-outs on-prem, and it's a whole new work of art within the IT environments. And the Broadcom one, that one's interesting. We have a lot of customers that are, hey, how do we how do we do something short term, and then how do we build a long-term plan? Do we look at an Azure stack? Do we look at KVM? Do we look at, all the other options out there? Do we just move everything to the cloud? Meanwhile, we already have practices of migrating out of the cloud and all these kind of different waves. And even, I don't know if we're going to talk about this today, but how Zerto can help migrate some of those workloads between those platforms. The CrowdStrike one, if you weren't a CrowdStrike customer, no big deal. You might have kind of giggled a little bit, not knowing you had to do a whole lot of work. But if you were a customer, there is a very painful few hours or few days to bring those systems back online. So that's for those customers. They are definitely in a lot of pain and have a lot of questions on how a piece of software that's never intended to do what it did created such large impact. And we can compare it to a ransomware where you got the key immediately, right? Even though we got the ransomware key back instantaneously within minutes of the outage happening, it still took some organizations weeks to recover from that.
Yeah, great points. And I appreciate the validation there too, right? That's what we're seeing from customers. So again, Justin talked about in the agenda that the top challenges, right? The cyber threats we're going to cover a little bit deeper later on, but cyber and cyber threats have grown not only exponentially, but grown from the sources of how these threats are coming as well too, right? You have state actors that are now involved in cyber threats. You have ransomware companies, ransomware hosts that say, hey, we'll help develop ransomware as a service type of capabilities for those bad actors to be able to go infiltrate your environments. And then, obviously there's been the traditional kind of unplanned disruptions in your business, whether it's natural disasters or hardware failures, or even user error a lot of times that have caused those. And then the real aspect of what Zerto does is this whole cloud complexity issue as well too, right? There's more and more customers are, as HPE and Antonio Neri and the team have always said, is that it's a hybrid world. It truly is, but it's also a multi-cloud world. And you have skills gaps from learning and knowing different environments, from managing and governing your data so that the data remains secure and you have the ability to move that data anywhere when you need it. And then again, the risk mitigation aspect of it is from the vendor lock-in aspect. So that's what we're seeing as top challenges. And what we're seeing is that customers are starting to understand, and what they need from partners like Comport is to really understand their entire environment and all the workloads that they have in their environment. How do they understand, okay, which ones are my applications that need the highest level of SLA and uptime? Which ones can be that are business critical, but not necessarily mission critical, and can be leveraged with existing technologies and existing backup solutions and existing storage environments. So you can mitigate cost as well too, right? You don't have to go invest in net new technology if you can understand where those applications and tiers fit in. And our mission as a software vendor and a software only partner with Comport is, hey, we're really looking at your data and saying, what's the most effective use of Zerto to help you with the minimal amount of downtime and the least amount of data loss in your environments, and then really right size your environments to say, here's where Zerto can really fit into what you're trying to do as an organization. So with that being said, right, I mean, I'm going to build this slide out, but we've kind of got this structure of, hey, from a disaster recovery standpoint, the most critical applications, mission critical, tier 0, tier 1 applications really fit into an SLA that, hey, I need these up 24/7. There's not a moment in time where I can live without this data, or being able to, if I did have a disruption in my business, to be able to roll back quickly and recover that data quickly. Then you do have backup and immutable copies and moving data offsite, and maybe even putting data into things like a data vault or clean room, which is now being required by some some industries, think of financial services and maybe even healthcare, where data is really saying, hey, if you've been attacked by a cyber threat, then we need to make sure that you have a portfolio to say, put your data away and lock it away so no one can get access to it through your network. And how do you actually then recover from it? And then the traditional long-term archiving as well, too. And so what we've done with the practices that you see there is really kind of said, hey, for your tier 1, tier 0 applications where you have the lowest recovery point objectives and the fastest time to recover, we want to help optimize that performance for you. And that's really ideal for resilience. And then we've got a portfolio of offerings through our integration with HPE and through the partnerships like Comport that can help understand which workloads fit where, is really all about, hey, how can we help you minimize the costs associated with it, as you'll also be able to use technologies like backup and snapshotting and even array-to-array based replication that will help you manage that kind of tier 2 and tier 3 applications that don't require the SLAs that your mission critical applications have. So that's really kind of the philosophy of how Zerto has gone to market within the HPE umbrella and portfolio. And Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still a lot of opportunity there for customers to look at their environments and help right size what that environment looks like with regards to their application tiering.
Yeah, for sure. I think every customer knows what keeps the lights on for their organization, and kind of as you stated earlier, what's making the business money. Those platforms, if they're not already in some sort of active array across data centers, across cloud providers, they needed the ability to recover that platform extremely fast, right? And the days of being able to do a recovery in a day or two is not sufficient for a platform like that. So identifying those applications, right sizing those applications are very important. And I can imagine some customers going, well, so that means I need two different technology stacks. I need a backup software and I need a DR streaming software. And if those things were you as a customer, Comport can definitely help solve those problems through our managed services, right? We can manage service one or both of those platforms, so you don't have to learn a new tool, be competent in that tool, or even understand how the tool works under the hood. You just need to be able to pick up the phone or submit a ticket saying, hey, I need this to happen yesterday, and then we'll execute on that. So you don't have to learn that new technology. We babysit all the backups, we babysit all the replications. We can help build the blueprints for the recovery strategy, do the tests, all those things, or help write the book for you, and you can do it internally as well. So if two different methodologies scare you, that's something that we can easily kind of help take control of for you as well.
Yeah, no, great point on that, Justin, and I really appreciate hammering that home. We go to market in both those ways, right? Whether the customer wants to own the technology or you as a partner provide that technology as a service, and that you have the ability to do that as well too. So that's a great point. So what does the portfolio look like with HPE and Zerto, right? You have your disaster recovery. That's kind of traditional Zerto. That's where we fit. Again, Zerto is a software-only solution. While we're part of HPE and definitely want to be able to leverage the technologies that HPE has to offer as a full stack solution, whether that's storage, compute, and other AI software and things like that, as well as the HPE GreenLake and cloud consumption models, right? That's absolutely something that customers should take advantage of. But we are vendor agnostic. So if you have environments today that are running on a different technology stack, we are not limited by it being only an HPE stack for your underlying infrastructure needs. So that's where we come in. Virtualized environments really go provide the industry's greatest and best RPO and RTO. Again, do it in a way that is based on a continuous data protection model rather than your traditional snapshot model. and backup model. And then we also have the long-term retention and backup, right? We offer Zerto partners with a company, and you can consume it through Zerto and HPE and Comport as well for backup for SaaS. We partner with a company called Keep It that allows you to back up your O365 and your Salesforce instances and things like that that you're using in SaaS. So there is a story to tell around that, as well as HPE and Comport are partnered with their complete partners and folks like Cohesity and Veeam. It's a better together message that we have out there with those folks. They can manage these other workloads, and even Commvault, because they can do physical environments, they can manage those environments, and we manage the high level virtualized environments that are mission critical. And then we have this whole other phase of what we've introduced in the market. We introduced it last year in the September timeframe around our cyber recovery capabilities, and that's really around the Zerto Cyber Resilience Vault. It is a full stack HPE solution built today, built as an appliance, shipped as an appliance that allows you to create that kind of clean room environment and really truly air gapped and isolated with a zero trust architecture around it. And we can get into some details towards the end of the webinar here, but just wanted to make sure that you understand we're kind of playing in all of these application layers. So disaster recovery and Zerto, where do we fit, right? I mean, high level architecture wise, we're virtual machine based. We get installed at the hypervisor level. We are an appliance that goes onto your hypervisor, and then we manage the data movement in that continuous data protection environment to wherever you want that data to go. And it can be one to many. And you can have multiple locations of that data, and you're still only consuming the software based on the number of VMs that you're protecting. So, for example, if you have one virtual machine, you can protect that virtual machine in your on-premise, your co-location disaster recovery site, as well as multiple clouds. So you can keep multiple copies of that data, and you're still only consuming the one virtual machine, and that's how we license and price our solution, right? So you can have disaster recovery to the cloud. You can have disaster recovery within multiple clouds, and you can also consume disaster recovery, as Justin pointed out, through an as-a-service model with our partnerships like Comport that support managed services around it and supply a as-a-service DR solution. So what makes us different than some of the other folks out there, right? Again, our number one differentiator is the continuous data protection. It is all about managing that data in granular journaling-based technology, and we're still unique in that. If you look at some of the other folks that provide continuous data protection, they still do it based on snapshotting technology, which is basically backup technology. And so you have to piece together all of those different snapshots to be able to recover and test and get that data back quickly. And so that being said, we've added that orchestration and automation layer into Zerto. So you can create these things called virtual protection groups for your data, where whole applications can be recovered at a time and quickly at a time, rather than you having to recover just instances or single virtual machines at a time and piece everything back together. The multi-cloud story, again, we've touched on it, whether you're public, private, or you can go one to many, and then also obviously integration into the HPE GreenLake cloud and consume it as a service from the GreenLake offerings as well too. And then the big aspect of it is the simplicity at scale, right? We're an enterprise solution. When you're talking about hundreds to thousands of virtual machines, the ability for us to scale up with that level of virtual machines, that's where we really have a differentiator as well too. You can do a lot of the backup solutions and maybe even native tools in the public cloud that allow you to do some of the things that we do. However, when you start looking at scale, I'm talking about anything above 50 VMs. That's when the true value of the solution and the performance of the solution and the return on investment in a solution actually pays off. So this is one of my favorite slides. This will kind of give a good comparison point with other technologies, right? Let's say you had a disaster or a disruption hit at 10 o'clock. What Zerto does is we're actually keeping every 5 seconds a journal that is kept in the continuous data protection that allows you to rewind that data back from that disruption and recover it within seconds of when that actual disruption happened. If you look at kind of traditional snapshot technologies, as well as even traditional backups, it could be hours to maybe even days before that data is actually recovered, and which amount of data is lost because you're looking back into time from looking at backups and snapshots that are older data than what happened a few seconds ago, right? So our aspect of this is, hey, it's granular. You're recovering from this journaling technology that's built Zerto. But then we also help support the whole concept of this NIST framework, right? You can detect, respond, and recover from things like cyber attacks that help you really say, hey, how do I have a full resilient business and a business plan for my business continuity? So that's really kind of the main thing I want to have folks walk away from is, yes, there are threats that are coming in to your environment. There are challenges with software and upkeep of software and all those things that are happening. But if you've got a partner like Comport and solutions that they can bring to you along with Zerto, the ability for you to be resilient is what we're enabling. And again, I'm not going to get into the technical details, but this will give you a high-level view of the architecture, right? We go on and get bolted onto your hypervisor, and we're basically doing real-time detection and replication across your network into a secondary site or a DR or a co-location. And then we have the ability to kind of build off of there as we can get into a little bit later on in how do you become truly resilient around cyber attacks from a cloud or a cyber vault. So with that, Justin, I'll just pause here for a second. I don't know if there's any questions that have come up or any thoughts that you have in terms of architecture. And I know Comport gets involved in designing these architectures. From a simplicity standpoint, do you feel that this is a little bit more defined in terms of how simple it is to implement and install and run for customers?
Yeah, I mean the simplicity is definitely there. I wrote down 3 notes as you're talking through the last couple slides. So the first one I want to hit on is the application groups and just kind of emphasize a couple of things that I heard and re-chat about them. If you have an application that's multi-tiered, you have a database and a middleware, and those 2 applications need to be in sync. And if one gets ahead of the other during a recovery process, that's when things can go haywire. In a snapshot, you can get close in a snapshot technology, but with a streaming software like Zerto, you can literally lock into, all right, at this moment in time, both the machines were at steady state, and we're recovering at that same point in time. So there's no mixed up data, right? So that's kind of key if you have those kind of, maybe legacy applications, but where they do need to stay in sync, and we all know who has those. The cloud replication, one of the key things from a cost perspective is if you have an on-prem data center and you are leveraging Zerto to recover to a public cloud, the amount of dollars that you're spending in that public cloud are very insignificant compared to a lot of other alternatives, like building a whole other data center, for example. Not to say you should or shouldn't do either one, but you're uploading data to the cloud. You don't have any VMs up and running. It's all just data at rest. So you're basically just paying for a storage cost. And the only time you're really paying to leverage that insurance policy is when you actually have to invoke an incident, right? I have a petabyte of data sitting here. I got 1,000 VMs sitting there. I'm replicating all of them with Zerto. and I'm only paying a premium, and I need to turn those VMs up and running to turn production back on, any business is going to be happy to pay that bill in that scenario, right? But if you're a customer that says, I need to know exactly where my data is, I need to know what data center it's in, what rack it's in, we can also provide that as well, right? So we can say it's not going to be in a public cloud where it's just kind of in the ether. We're going to tell you it's in data center X, rack Y. You can even come in and touch it if you want to. You can see the blinky light. So we can kind of cross all those things. Then I'm not sure if you're going to talk about, but I want to hit it just because this diagram kind of shows it, is when we start talking about encryption and ransomware and how it encrypts data, a lot of tools can do this, but they do it just like a backup solution. When I do a snapshot, I'm going to evaluate the data, the change rate changed, right? I normally am used to seeing X amount of change rate, now I'm seeing Y amount of change rate. That's a red flag. And then AI comes in and starts to figure out, was it really ransomware? Because we're streaming that data in real time, we're going to see the ransomware come in near real time as well. So rather than waiting to the backup window to say, hey, you just had your unstructured data completely encrypted last night, and now you know about it in the morning. As soon as that malware starts to do its thing, we're going to start seeing that within a matter of minutes or seconds that we're starting to see that encryption activity happening. We can pause that from happening, hopefully with our security tools, and then recover the little bit of data that was manipulated versus all of the data that was manipulated.
Yeah. And a great point, and appreciate you kind of hammering that home as well too, right? We added that capability in our 10.0 release, which happened a little over a year and a half ago. That's really a differentiator for us, is the detection piece, right? We're not saying we're going to prevent any sort of ransomware, or we can prevent and block any threats. This is when it happens, we're able to detect it real time. We give you warnings, we checkpoint and mark in the journal when that warning is highlighted. We're not taking action today. There's not AI built into the software today that allows you to take action automatically when that happens, because we still don't have a way of differentiating that encryption, right? Did you mean to actually create a new encrypted environment? Or is it actually a bad actor or a threat to your business? There are other tools that obviously do that as well too, but we do have the ability to say, hey, we're going to flag it. We're going to create a checkpoint that you can roll back to that shows a non-encrypted version of this environment, and then we allow you to make that decision on the fly, right? You can choose to shut off your replication and rewind it back, or you can put it into a secondary kind of secondary network and dump that data into, while you can do forensics on that data and then be able to also recover back to a clean checkpoint at the same time. So great point. And again, Justin mentioned it with the ability to move between and to and from clouds is really a key point for us as well too. We've got native integration into AWS and Microsoft Azure, so we can run in native AWS Azure environments. We can support VMware in both of those environments as well too. And then obviously the integration we have with HPE GreenLake and the ability to run there and be consumed off of the GreenLake Cloud Console as well too. So don't just take our word for it, right? We'll talk about one of the use cases that we have. United Airlines, they have 4,100 virtual machines that they protect with Zerto, and they're averaging about 8 seconds of RPO. And then what they're really protecting is their online application for ticketing and booking and your online app. They feel, when we first worked with United, they felt that if their application is down for an hour, it costs them about $1 million an hour in terms of lost revenue and customer service challenges, that they felt this was an absolute need for them to have the recoverability in the RPO. And so that they were one of our first customers, and they are one of our largest customers that is leveraging Zerto across. Now it's more than just their online application. And then you've got many others, right? You got Jack Henry, as well as other customers that are averaging seconds of recovery point objectives. And so we're really seeing that the value that we provide customers, once the opportunity is there to show and differentiate our offering and solution, then the ability to go leverage and bring in and protect more applications, and again, scale out as a enterprise does, is there. You're just basically paying for the VMs that you're protecting so you can scale out from there. So I just wanted to touch on the Cyber Vault. I know we're at 35 minutes here. We want to definitely leave room for some Q&A and some other discussion topics. But we introduced this solution. We've seen that the challenges with cyber recovery and the threats of ransomware, right? They're now becoming unpredictable, and more unpredictable. We've seen that the blast radius, meaning where does the ransomware or the cyber threat, where does it impact, and what applications and what environments in your stack does it impact? Typically, we see that there's unclean recovery points that folks are getting their data back from. We don't have a way today with Zerto, you do, but you don't have a way to revert back to a clean checkpoint with kind of traditional technologies, right? You have to go look at and filter through backups that could be hours or days old to say, hey, where's my checkpoint that I want to go back and recover from? And then again, the ability to recover when you're talking about, minutes to hours from a cyber attack versus days to months, which some companies are experiencing. Think about companies that have had recent attacks that have been in the news. They've had to shut off their networks, and their network has been down for several weeks, just to be able to recover data back to a point where they can get back up and running, right? So those are things that are happening, and those are the challenges we've seen. And so what we said that, hey, with a complete solution offering from Zerto and HPE, we can support the replicate and detect piece. We can help you do the isolate and lock piece with a true cyber vault and clean room environment that, again, is immutable data copies, that's air gapped from a network standpoint, and is also zero trust, meaning we take it for a certainty that not only your backup software, but probably Zerto has been attacked and has been manipulated by the bad actors and the ransomware. So how do you actually then find a ability to lock it away and go back to a clean checkpoint so that you can test and recover that data that's clean in a very quick and efficient way without disrupting your business and without spending days to test and recover for it? So again, the advantages are it's really based around Zerto as the data mover, if you will, the continuous data protection, as Justin has put it, the streaming data capabilities that Zerto has, and then the ability to have encrypted data, the ability to have offsite immutable copies, the ability to have one-to-many capabilities as well too, where it all is encompassed in the zero trust architecture, with Zerto as kind of the backbone of it. Those are the real key advantages from a cyber recovery standpoint. And so I'll end with kind of a high-level visualization. And again, these are some of the reasons, these are some of the marketing slides, but a high-level visualization of what a Cyber Vault solution is. This is, again, an appliance-based offering from Zerto and HPE looks like, right? You have your production site, and again, the traditional DR site with Zerto installed at the hypervisor level. And then you have HPE ProLiant servers and HPE Alletra storage as the replication targets. And then those storage arrays are connected through a Aruba network switch that is air gap, right? That is the only point of network connectivity between those two storage arrays. And you can, once you move into that clean room or that vault, you can actually cut off that network so that no other data and no other access points are connected to your overall network, where you can then figure out the best point of recovery, and you can also figure out forensics and do forensics to understand, okay, what areas and blast radius has the ransomware impacted. So all of that ability to lock away your data in that isolated and air-gapped environment really is what the architecture is built on. And then again, the secret sauce is the ability to recover quickly, right? The ability to rewind and recover the data in a way that allows for the minimal data loss and allows for the quick uptime of getting your data back up and running.
Yeah, so this is a pre-designed, premeditated package from HPE, right? It has your, like you mentioned, Aruba switching, ProLiant hardware, Electros storage, Zerto replication. There's no, DIY here. This is a pre-packaged, ready to go. It works once you deploy it kind of scenario, right? So it doesn't mean that customers can't build it with some of the technology they have and layer Zerto on top of it, but this is kind of a one-stop shop for that three-tiered replication with backup immunity and air gap, right?
Yep, exactly, Justin. So I'll just go through. This is typically how it works, right? Hey, shut down the production environment, you shut down the replication target, and then you basically are into the clean room and the vault, and you can use the Zerto journaling technology to recover from a clean checkpoint that you determine. And we've done some real world. We've got these deployed. Again, it's been a little over a year since we launched this offering. We've got these deployed at customer sites, and what we see against traditional backup-based offerings and other cyber vault solutions out there, hey, really your RPO, we've got an 87% reduction, and this is based about on 300 terabytes of data that we saw from these customers. Your time to restore that data was from 16 to 18 days with the backup software to a couple of hours. And so you get an over 99% reduction. And then the impact, the total impact of the ransomware once it's in your environment, the 20 plus days versus the 6 hours that Zerto can reduce that impact to. So again, there's a TCO and ability to calculate that total cost of ownership that allows you to say, hey, how do we actually deploy this and it makes sense for our environment? And Comport obviously has a lot of great services and professional services that help you understand what your ROI would be on these types of solutions as well too. So again, what we're here for is really solving for any disruption, right? You have your unplanned, the cyber threats, the natural disasters, ransomware, all of those things, power outages, hardware failures. But even for your planned outages, right? Hey, you're wanting to do migrations to a cloud, or you're buying net new hardware to modernize your technology platform and you wanted to do a migration, or you have a consolidation where you've done mergers and acquisitions, and it's coming from disparate technologies that you need to get onto a single technology platform. You can do all of those in run tests in your environment without having to put your production down. And you can obviously migrate and transfer that data in a very efficient and cost-effective way with Zerto, because that data migration capability is built into our offering. It's not a separate SKU or a separate license model. It's all built into the Zerto Enterprise Cloud licensing model. So again, I don't trust us to tell you about marketing. We've got customers and customer logos that are using it today across all industries and all verticals. We have a customer success team that if you need to have a conversation with a user and be able to talk to them about the value and the benefit of leveraging Zerto in their environment, we absolutely can help you have those conversations to talk to your peers and see how they're leveraging Zerto and what makes the difference in their business. And then I asked for the team, obviously Comport can help with this too. There is a ability for you to view live demos. You can get hands-on labs as well too, and free trials of the licensing, all through our online presence at Zerto and through HPE. So absolutely want the teams to be able to feel comfortable that they can look at it, touch it, feel it, and take advantage of some of the things that we have to offer to really make a decision before you buy. And then I'll leave with this, and I think Justin's definitely going to sell this. We want to be able to help you understand how to effectively leverage a solution like Zerto so that it meets your ROI, so that it meets your SLA requirements, but that you're also not consuming technology or software and it becomes shelfware. And so with the help of partners like Comport, they truly are the ones that'll help you differentiate, hey, how do you layer on services and their assessment capabilities to make the right decision. So Justin, I don't know if you wanted to talk about your assessment capabilities and make sure that there's an ask from the teams that are on here and the folks that are on here that we can look to help them support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can do anything from like a full-on like business continuity from a business level and how IT supports that business level, including interviews and all that kind of stuff. What every business continuity plan is different from each organization. We have some organizations that they require another facility that they don't normally use because they need to have people, together to perform their work functions, and then others that we just need a good zero trust solution to get access to the tools when we're in a disaster. Down to the more simple components of like just look at my data feeds and what applications should be in a streaming service, what applications are sufficient in a backup service, and how to marry those together to make it easy and clean for the IT folks to support that. So if you have any questions around, hey, we don't have a good business continuity plan, can someone speak to my executive leadership to help build that program and help get a sponsor for that program? We're happy to get involved in all those types of areas as well. So we're here to help. And yeah, the one question I do have is, because we talked about kind of two different ways. How small of a footprint do you see Zerto for an enterprise starting out with? I have one app I want to protect. What size range do you see on a small side for customers to kind of get started and say, hey, I really want this application to be in a good situation?
Yeah. Great question. Typically, what we see where ROI makes sense for customers, Justin, is usually in that 25 virtual machine and above environment. If your environment doesn't have more than 25 VMs, typically the ROI won't be there for you. But if you can start as little as 5 VMs, 1 VM. But if your entire environment is less than 25 virtual machines, I would say that typically the ROI isn't there. Although we do see today, because of our partnerships like Comport that can provide Zerto as a service, that really makes sense for those folks. And to be able to leverage that DR as a service offering, we see, small schools and school districts and even public sector folks that are leveraging that technology through a partnership and consuming it as a managed service. But if you're going to own the licensing on your own, you want to take the licensing anywhere, I would say 25 VMs is kind of the threshold, if you will.
Yep, makes perfect sense.
Awesome. Lori, I'll turn it back to you.
We have the assessment on our website, so you can go there to look for that, or you can go on the Zerto website for a free trial. Other than that, have a great day.